No way anyone's going to be on it this time. Not a chance. Decent username. I can take that. Always a good Swirlies reference. But that could go a lot of different ways, couldn't it? Come on, bring it in. Well, I mean, I guess this always makes it painful for rewatch when I spend like a minute and a half blabbering on. So if you're coming in, you're coming in. So 92 and 93 are sort of the same year. That's why I'm doing a sweep for both of them. They have the same character. They have the same problems. And the biggest problem is Nirvana. You had that compilation. So did everybody. So yeah, I mean this, and there was another one called Born to Choose that had Pavement, Greenlander. That was the only place you could get Greenlander until Pavement started putting out bootlegs of their own shit on Stray Slack. Is the best one. I have that one. It has that killer fucking version of Here, where he starts off and he's like, I was dressed to suck. And then just like that was when Gary Young was in the band. It was awesome because it kept Spiral Stairs in check because he's so full of shit. And I've said this a million times, and it's like after Watery Domestic, as much as Crooked Rain is fucking phenomenal, but most of that's already like, developed. It's already fermenting. And so you don't, it's not like, it's just hard to explain, but yeah, by Wowie's Out, it just sucked. I mean, it's sort of like when Nastanovich came in, I just was like, whatever. Yeah, the Slanted Deluxe has everything. So all these tracks we were trying to get, like, Camera, the B-side to Cut Your Hair, and like the, Time After Time was my least favorite song. All that stuff. Anyway, yeah, without going down a rabbit hole. Yeah, the Pavement Deluxe editions are phenomenal because they're record geeks. Like I said, they bootleg themselves all throughout their career. Brink of the Clouds, all that stuff was on 7 inches. The BBC sessions, they were putting that out themselves out of Stockton on Treble Kicker. And I have like 3 of those bootlegs. There was Summer Babe, which was a shitty live show in New York, I think. There's, like I said, Stray Slack, and then there was Stuff Up the Cracks was the other one, which had the Peel session or whatever session where they did Secret Knowledge of Back Roads, the Silver Jews song. That's like one of my favorite tunes, definitely one of my favorite indie lo-fi tunes like ever from the Arizona record. Anyway, so Nirvana blows up. All right, so what happened? 91, summer of 91 is the first Lollapalooza. First Lollapalooza, I was 16, I went. I told this story. There's an old YouTube video from 8 years ago where I talk about the first 3 Lollapaloozas and my experience and sort of what they meant at the time. They were a huge deal. There were not a lot you couldn't get to see bands, especially if you were under 21. Club culture was not available. 18 plus shows was like straight edge and hardcore only. And like later it became a thing, obviously with Twee and K out west, but like on the East Coast in New York, Boston, DC and stuff, it was all ages shows where the matinee at ABC No Rio, whatever, Gorilla Biscuits, Walters there, whatever. Like that whole thing is a very limited thing. If you don't live in a city and you're a teenager, you can't get to ABC No Rio to go see these shows. So you're hearing about them maybe. Maybe some older kids now are starting to go to college, which is what happened in my case. My bandmate went to Sarah Lawrence, and then a couple of other kids went to NYU. And so it was like, gets back to you when you're a little bit young. But by then, we're not you wouldn't be that many years apart and be friends. You know what I mean? Like he's like a year older than me, 1.5 years older than me. So it's not like a huge, you know what I mean? It's not like I get it super early. It's when pretty much anyone in the city would be able to do that. But so 2 things happened. Lollapalooza happens, right? Lollapalooza is right before Nirvana blows up. Lollapalooza is mostly old 80s bands. It's Susie and the Banshees, it's Jesus and Mary Chain. And they were horrible. They hated it so much they made their own tour, which we'll get to, called Roller Coaster in a couple minutes here, because that was in spring of this year. But Lollapalooza was a massive deal because it was like the gates are open, right? Like you can go be an alt kid, you can go be alternative, you can go show everybody and find all these other suburban kids who've been sitting in bedrooms, like I say in the shoegaze videos. They've been sitting around in their bedroom listening to the Cocteau Twins, Susie and the Banshees. They've been listening to Echo and the Bunnymen, and all their older siblings, maybe college music, REM, and maybe even the Minutemen or something. Like For me, the craziest things that I got opened up to young were in high school and junior year, because I said I had that friend who went to Sarah Lawrence. He did a semester at Oxford abroad, and he got back like Para Ubu, Wire, and we all got huge into the Minutemen and Pavement, obviously, because Pavement was present tense, a very big deal. Pavement was in Spin. Their first 10-inch Perfect Sound Forever was in Spin. And so, like, people need to understand Jim Greer and the Byron Coley and all these people that were like big 80s rock writers, like they were blowing up Guided by Voices and Pavement and stuff in real time. It's not like those are reissue bands like the Meat Puppets that no one ever fucking heard in 1985, except like, people in their 20s who were out there doing it. One of the things I'll talk about in this is the way that the circles just get bigger and bigger. The circles sort of start with, say CBGB, then Talking Heads, and they start to go out to colleges, and then REM happens, and the B-52s happen, and you have your big band in every city. Like I said in the other one, you have Naked Raygun in you have Chicago, you have West Coast bands, you have like big bands in Boston, Mission of Burma, but it's like a couple, Galaxy 500, right? There's just a handful of bands that get to the point of making decent music, and like that music is totally laughed at. Like the Galaxy 500 were, as much as there was a sect that wanted to worship them and prop them up, critics were like, oh great, I really liked White Light, White Heat too. Like they were, like Spacemen 3 the same way. If you get the wrong kind of person hearing this tributary music, this retro music that's knowingly, willingly evocative of other bands and times, there's a certain subset of music scholar, asshole, who's going to just completely, laugh at that or mock it. And that happened to those bands. But the reality was the kids for whom their music was opening those doors, they were a huge deal because no one was telling them that there was all this great old shit necessarily. And if they're seeing a band doing it, it makes it real, let's say, is a way to look at it. And Spacemen 3 and Galaxy 500 and Jesus and Mary Chain and a lot of these bands were making, like, not mellow, clearly Jesus and Mary Chain were not mellow, but Spacemen 3 was droney, dirgy, distorted guitar, got some Shangri-Las, biker kind of feel. I've talked about that part of them before. And the circles of interest in this independent music that's totally non-commercial just start to get bigger and bigger. And what happens is that means that there start to become more and more people who form labels. And it's this progression throughout the 80s. Now, all of a sudden, Matador starts. It's not just Homestead anymore. Like, the only indie label in the Northeast was, like, Homestead. That was it. And they were, like, basically a huge cartel out here. Band of Susans in New York, yep. And then, Matador starts up. Gerard, they're in college. I think they were at NYU running it out of a dorm room, just like Rick Rubin had done with Def Jam. And, Mac and everybody starts merge, and Chapel Hill starts to blow up. And, like, it doesn't happen everywhere. But Ann Arbor, Michigan, these college towns, and I said this again also in the shoegaze video, the third one, which was not really 100% about shoegaze, but mostly about how this particular thing I'm talking about, pre-Nirvana, starts to become this real viral thing. It seeds itself, and then you got people helping. And I said this in the last few videos. You get Simple Machines, Discord, and all these people, and it's this. I can go to another city and find 150 people that think like me and that are cool and care about music and are music nerds or something. That's new. That doesn't exist in the 80s at all. And I think Azarad's book completely fucks that up. Totally fails to get how small, how isolated, and how retroactively distorted our discussions of the 80s are. Because I know a lot of those people, and I've talked to Peter Prescott about it a lot, and even Lowell Tolhurst from The Cure when I interviewed him. Like, they'd buy the businessman's ticket, which is like an open-ended ticket, and they'd just have to fly to shows, and it would be like 25 people, and you go back to someone's apartment who was the music director at this one college radio station and drink a bunch of fucking warm beer, and it just is the same story for like a long time. But some bands blow up and move on from that. The Cure obviously did. 1985 was pivotal for them blowing up in America. But this groundswell of all this activity, there's no payoff, let's sort of say. Like, no one sells out. Selling out isn't necessarily a huge deal yet, but I mean, it is in pop punk and it is in snidey circles like that. But by the time you get to 91, like I said, this whole window of all these different things happening in England and in America, and other places too. Bands like The Church getting relatively big, Depeche Mode, Violator, enormous. There's this understanding that like, okay, you know, as I'm repeating myself, but just to set the stage, you know, we're not going to sell 1 million copies of this, but we're going to sell like 170,000, and that's not bad. So people are invested in it. And the culmination of that really is Perry Farrell setting up Lollapalooza. So last summer, 91, I go to Lollapalooza, and it's a big ass stadium show, and it's very tightly controlled. And, you know, Jim Reed from Jesus and Mary Chain thought it sucked, and he wanted to do something different. So he comes up with this tour in the spring of 92 called the Roller Coaster Tour, which is My Bloody Valentine, Dinosaur Jr., Blur on this is like the period where they're doing pop scene and trying to break out from Dave Balfe's control and not be a stupid baggy dance pop band. There's no other way. Like Damon and, you know, these guys are really pretty sharp. Like, they're all sharp guys. They're all music nerds. They know their shit relatively, even if they're not keeping their shit together, Graham especially on these tours. Because again, I saw them at Babyhead in Rhode Island, and they talk about the show like it's the worst show they've ever played. It probably was. They were so shit-faced they couldn't even stand up. And people were like booing them, and they did get pretty much coded off stage. It was fucking pathetic. They were so bad. And that's on that star-shaped movie they made. That tour, part of that tour anyway, is on this movie that they tried to delete of them. It's on YouTube for Christ's sake, but it's just them 24/7 shit-faced in America. Like SNK, Sony is trying to get up their nose and steal them and license them through food, and there's just all this hype, and it's right before Britpop blows up. So it's a very weird thing that Blur is on this tour with the Jesus and Mary Chain. You know, this is around Honey's Dead, I think, is the one from 92, or Rock and Roll's after that. I can't remember. And MBV is now, this is their last tour. My Bloody Valentine doesn't play live from 1992 until 2008. So if you got to see the Roller Coaster Tour, which obviously being an American teenager, I did not, that was the last time MBV played live for 16 years. Pretty nuts. And like, it was similar to if you watch the old Lollapalooza video I did, I talk about Mercury Rev getting kicked off the tour for being too loud. The Roller Coaster Tour was the exact same problem. Like, everyone was trying to be the loudest, craziest band. And the Holocaust during You Made Me Realize, people were like not that into that, because you got to remember, this is also, now we're getting into the popular peak of rave and like Blackpool rave and mega rave, and like it's all mainstream 13-year-old shit, and we'll try and break off time for that. So that's a long-winded way of getting into what happens with Nirvana. When Lollapalooza is happening, Nirvana had turned it down. Really fucking smart move on their part, actually. Smells Like Teen Spirit starts to blow up in the summer of 91, but they're on tour in Europe. So they miss what's happening. They're getting phone calls. Oh, I was at that. Cole, I was at that dinosaur show at Avalon 92. That I stole a green frog off Jay's amp. I talked about it in one of the last few streams. That show at Avalon was outstanding. The sound was so good. Dinosaur were awesome live. I mean, he was a super practiced, serious fucking guy about playing live. But anyway, Nirvana was on this amazing tour because, again, the vibe is out there. Everybody knows this stuff is all happening. Sonic Youth's been on DGC. Cool Thing is a relatively big hit with Chuck D in the video on MTV. I remember them playing the Dirty Boots video pretty good. Like, MTV totally knew something was going on, and they were supporting it. Like, they wanted to be there for it 100%. So they get this tour together and they go to Europe, and it's Nirvana, it's Dinosaur Jr., Babes in Toyland. I think Gumball is on it. And I forget who else. There's a couple shows where the Ramones are on it, which was super weird. But anyway, in Europe, you know, the European attitude toward a festival and the English attitude, I suppose, is so different from America. It's just, it can't even be described, because it just can't, unless you've been to Pukkelpop, unless you've been to, you know, any of these legendary venues where every band plays the same stages, the same festivals. It's like a shared experience. It has this feel to it. You know, you just don't have anything like that in America. In America, it's just like load in, show, load out. It's also the way the venues are constructed, the way their attitude is toward the maximizing the profit and get in, get out, and sell the fucking tickets. It's just a totally different vibe. So, and you get a sense of it, honestly. This video is great. I've watched it a million fucking times. We burn. It's not even rewound. I burn this thing to the ground every day. The version of Dinosaur Jr.'s freak scene on this, when the audience sings, because when I need a friend, it's still you, and then it's just like a fucking hurricane goes out off that stage. It's so great, man. And Murph was so on his shit. I love him. He was such an influence on me as a drummer, even though Jay played the drums on all the Dinosaur Jr. albums for the most part. Murph was so fucking good live, and he was so fun and like belted. Like, he's strapped to the seat. He's that kind of a drummer. But yeah, this also has like the perfect version of School and Negative Creep when he's singing that falsetto at the beginning. I mean, it's nuts, man. And the opening song being Schizophrenia is also like a super bold move on Sonic Youth's part, because, you know, it's an old song from '86 from Sister, and their second to last SST record. And before that dude, that English dude that ran Enigma, he was such, oh my God, that's the funniest story. He tried to get all these bands, like, because the English press at this time, you got to remember, like, so when I did a podcast with Simon Reynolds, and I'm pretty fawning in it because he was a huge hero of mine when I was a kid. He's like about 10 years older than me, similar to Cobain. But it's still good. I mean, I don't mind being, you know, a kind of starstruck dork in front of Simon Reynolds, because he really did it in a broadsheet way. I mean, he was a big writer for years there. And those guys, that whole area, that scene, they were all about American noise rock. Husker Du, Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr., like, this is the fucking return of real. They had this big American fetish, or they were Americanophiles. Yeah, Blast First too. And so this tour was such a bigger deal. Like, you can't even imagine what a big deal this was for all those UK rock writers at Melody Maker, NME, etc., who had been championing, you know, basically loud American guitar fuzz and crazy feedback music before Nirvana. And when Sonic Youth brought Nirvana on this tour, it was in October, I believe. Smells Like Teen Spirit blew the fuck up, took over MTV, hourly playing, Fever, Insanity. And these guys are over there on planes and buses getting phone calls back from America, from DGC, like, you guys are fucking the #1 band in the world. Like, there's an awesome, not Pavitt, the engineer guy in Hype, the documentary Hype, which was such a great, important thing. Even though everybody was so sick of grunge and sick of this whole thing when he made Hype, I'm so glad he did, because it is fucking great. And it does show a closer to the moment tension. There's still some tension left. But there's a studio engineer guy who did, he's the guy who did Bleach, and he tells the story of, like, he's getting phone calls that, like, Nirvana sold 10,000, Nirvana sold 50,000, Nirvana sold 250,000, Nirvana went platinum, like, every week. It was, maybe it was Jack Endino, maybe you're right. He's just a rad, laid back dude in the studio in the clip. But anyway, it's a perfect, little one sentence summary, as a few moments in Hype are, of what was going on. And so DGC is trying to stage, like, okay, well, what are we going to do when you guys get back? And it's high concept video, because Smells Like Teen Spirit's kind of a piss take. It's like, you know, we rented a fucking gym and some people jumped around, and, you know, we shot it on real film, and it's, you know, whatever. Then they were like, we want to get some real money behind this band. And so they set up Kevin Kerslake, and I think it's Kevin Kerslake. No, or is it Anton Kerber? I think it has to be Kerslake, because Kerslake is the blue, red, gold guy. He did Faith No More's Midlife Crisis video, which is the same exact template as Come As You Are. And then, of course, In Bloom with the dude from the People's Court, playing some, you know, 50s TV show guy introducing him. I've said before, I hate that fucking song. But point is, the label's investing big time in Nirvana. They know Nirvana is now, like, #1. And so this is all happening, right? This is the thing that teenagers are into, that we're getting expanded circles of independent activity. So we're finding out about local bands. We're finding out about cool music in ways that we probably maybe really hadn't in the past, or would be left to a spin, you know, or now we're about to get Raygun to explain to us. So we're having sort of like richer, more entertaining lives, right? And why is that possible? Well, one of the reasons it's possible is we're starting the biggest economic boom probably ever. Like, you think what's going on now is crazy? It's nothing. The 90s is probably, in America anyway, it certainly wasn't in Japan, the greatest, percentage-based run in the markets and in general economic conditions ever. Because what had happened, there were two things that happened. I know I talked about economics and it kind of, people are like, what? There's two things that really happened here. The savings and loan crisis. Well, Lincoln, the Nebraska, George Bush's little brother got caught with Charles Keating in this huge bank failure. This is on the back of Continental Illinois failing. And then the savings and loan crisis blows up and the housing market tanks in 91. It's a huge deal. You should go look up the Wikipedia on this just to educate yourself about it, because what happens is they engineer, two things happen. They engineer a soft landing from the S&L crisis, protecting the market from total collapse. And B, the second thing is Bill Clinton lets Sandy Weill break the law. He just straight up lets him do something that is 100% fucking illegal. He breaks the Glass-Steagall Act by merging Travelers and Citibank. That's illegal. It happened. When it happened, it was illegal. But Clinton was like, yeah, they're going to repeal it anyway. They didn't repeal it for like 2 years after that. So this completely illegal, massive corporate merger was allowed to happen, which sent a dramatic signal to businesses that this guy Clinton don't give a shit. We can do whatever the fuck we want. Let's start making it up. So tons of money starts coming out. The interesting thing is, and this is maybe, specious generic argument, because we have a Democratic administration, a lot of that money actually goes to the middle and working class. Their standard of living ticks up a bit in the 90s. That never happens. And the opposite of that has been happening for the last 15 years to, 1920s levels. So what I'm saying here is like, there's a lot of disposable income flying around, and it's not just rich people. And so that means kids have more freedom. That's what happens. It was a real tear. It was a real boom. And so, you see Slackers, the movie Kids, all that stuff. Younger people have more money, let's say, right? Or they're getting better jobs. And so those younger people are the ones who are like, man, if I had money, I would start a record label. Who the fuck would ever think that in their life, except like a 26-year-old? Man, if only I had $5,000, I'd put out all my friends' records. Like that's their goal in life at that age. It was mine. And that's what really made this thing go so crazy, so different, so fast. But so when you talk about the charts, how crazy was it, right? So this is the master version of the Trouser Press record guide, right? Ira Robbins is like the Christ, all of the guys who wrote in this and gals. This fourth edition is like the one. This like Yo La Tengo, the Feelies, all the Hoboken shit, every fucking indie band in Chicago and Seattle and Portland, all that shit. It's all in here. This is like the REM world, indie, arty Camper Van Beethoven world in book form. It's crucial. What happens in the 90s is so nuts that they put this out in 96. The Trouser Press Guide to 90s Rock. This is published in early 97. There's still like, it's over? Or like what? There was so much activity and so much crap getting chucked out that, you really couldn't tell. A lot of this is reprinted from the older guides. But there was the point being, there was so much, they felt so much pressure to update the record guide because so much was going on and had been going on for the first, like from 91-ish to 96 was just mental. It's really hard to describe. Like, I remember so many of these labels that just no one's ever going to remember because they had their moment, they flamed out, but they were like getting national distribution. So it's like, Alias and then Grass Records, the guys end up signing Creed, started as an indie label, like a total New York indie label. They had these weird ass bands like Nectarine Number 9 and I don't know if they did an Archers of Loaf record, but it's just a bunch of people with money. And a lot of these labels, like the Medicine label is another one. It just all blew up. Yeah, Grass fucked over the Wrens. Probably good. I don't care. Fuck the Wrens. I hate that band. Grass probably did screw them over there because they, similar to Mammoth Records, famously everybody hates the guy who started Mammoth Records. He's now like a Hollywood producer. Everyone thinks he's the biggest scumbag ever. He had signed the Blake Babies and Vanilla Trainwreck and like all these other bands. But so that's the whole background. I'm trying to explain like the time is a flat circle. of indie kind of, you know, getting big and really getting huge, exactly at the time that Nirvana goes sideways big, MTV big, Metallica big, you know, like they're taking on Guns N' Roses at the same time. GNR's User Illusion 1 and 2 and Nevermind come out the same month, and Nirvana, I wouldn't say wins, but they're like going 12 rounds with GNR, the biggest fucking band in the world, a band that has sustained enough interest over 4 years since Appetite came out to still have millions of people lining up to buy both independently sold User Illusion 1 and 2s. It wasn't a fucking double album set. You got to buy them both full price. You got $30 burning a hole in your pocket. That's beer money for a month, dude. But, you know, my point here is, and the reason that I'm combining sort of 92 and 93 is that the mainstream stuff in the chart books was that clip of Axl at the beginning of The Exploding Boy, the media asking him about Cobain's suicide. No, that's when he got arrested. He's getting into a limo. That's okay. So it's not when he jumped in the crowd and started the riot, I don't think, at the Metallica show. That was sort of the undoing of Axl. He got busted a bunch of times before that. He got like in deep shit. Because I mean, if you know anything about Axl Rose's life, like you think Kurt Cobain had a bad childhood, try again. Axl Rose, like he was like literally an abused child, seriously suffered massive child abuse and shit. And, you know, I don't know him. I can't say whether he exaggerated any of that, but I suspect he did not. Because he can't even remember everything that happened to him. But anyway, yeah, he was a really fucked up dude. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so the indie stuff is like, you can go on and on and on about it because that was what I was into and what I was doing. But it wasn't what life was like day to day. Like, you know, I'm wearing crazy clothes and shit and listening to all this cool music, but the radio is still like, I can't, it's just nothing. It's so bad. I mean, and part of this when I try and look back at this honestly and talk about what it was really like, and that's what these are all about. I'm trying to explain like what the fabric of reality was like, because that doesn't get explained by anybody. They just want to tell you how big their favorite shit was, and it wasn't. The biggest things in terms of popular, like I said it in the last video, hip hop really is massively embraced in the suburbs as a form of rebellion. You know, white suburban identification or attempts to identify with marketed and mediated images of Black culture, to be clear, was really huge, way, way huge. I mean, when I look back on it, that's what, like I talked in a couple of streams, I think about the movie House Party, the Kid and Play movie, Boys to Men, that stuff, no, but you know, like Naughty by Nature and all this stuff, like these were, you know, Ghetto Boys, Mind Playing Tricks on Me. These were like, I don't know, maybe it goes back to the whole rock and roll thing of like whatever pisses off your parents is part of it, certainly. And, you know, appreciating everything that's going on right now in this country, the Rodney King situation, I think for anybody who lived through that, that was some seriously, I think that's the first time I ever became aware of like social unrest could occur in this country in that way, at that scale. And nobody did a really good job of explaining it to me or to like anybody my age. I just remember when they got him in front of the camera, and I was just like simultaneously, it was so inspiring and powerful and crushing, you know, seeing him tear up and try and just say, but also I felt like the country was like making him do this because it was so out of control. They were like, the only way this is going to stop is if like we put him on camera and he asked people to stop. It was, I mean, that's what it felt. That's what I felt at the time. Everybody had lost complete control. The level of detachment between the generation gaps of this, you know, the George H.W. Bush, Jesus Christ. You know, there are a lot of parallels right now when I look at the fabric of what we're dealing with, and it's, I don't know, it's super grim. But in terms of the radio and in terms of what you were looking at, it was, you know, like I say, there's this, the pop music that's hitting on the charts and selling is hip hop. It's not like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. They're the only bands that sell. Bush later, Stone Temple Pilots a little bit later. But you can sort of count them on one hand. And again, you can watch the grunge video where I just like kind of reel them off and show clips of all of them. We went through a lot of this though. You know, Prince makes his turn into the new power generation, coming off the back of what, Graffiti Bridge, and that now we're getting into like, I think he's going to get into Diamonds and Pearls and stuff, but it's like Genesis, No Son of Mine. I went off about U2. That stuff's still huge. PM Dawn, had, you know, Set Adrift on Memory Bliss is now everywhere. And this period here, and I talked about at the end of the last video, the winter beginning of 92, it just feels really empty. It's so hard to put this stuff to words. Like, it just feels like there was this big, weird vacuum of, and again, maybe it was my age, but it's just like things didn't, the pop culture that's real, that's in the charts and that was on MTV and that was on the radio when you were driving around, you were forced to check out of it. So I guess my point is this, right? What I'm struggling to say here is like, it wasn't just someone like me that was like, had all these great options and all this cool music and could go to the mall and get Super Chunks on the Mouth and Codine's Frigid Stars and all these cool records. Like mainstreamy normal people, and I said this in a grunge video, the reason Nirvana happened is because they were feeling the exact same way. Like, I'm Too Sexy is funny twice. And then it's like, what else you got? There's only so many circumstances where you're going to listen to Prince's Diamonds and Pearls. You know, part of pop music is the stuff you listen to when you're with your friends driving around in cars, and none of that stuff is working here. So other bands that would get put up here, and I mean, the real beneficiaries of Nirvana are not even Nirvana. It's Soul Asylum. It's the fucking Goo Goo Dolls. Like, you know, if you go see the video for fucking Naked, that Goo Goo Dolls song, this guy like allowed them to dress him up as Kurt Cobain and film him in the same lighting as Kurt Cobain. It is so fucking creepy. And they did it to a little kid in Silverchair for Tomorrow. And then, you know, again, it's because if you turn on the radio, you don't want to hear Adam's Groove, you know, MC Hammer's song from the Addams Family movie. It's so fucking awkward and just awful. Icy Blue, I Want to Be Your Girl. Good God. And the big, you know, the simplistic referendum on this is that when the returns come in because of SoundScan, Michael Jackson starts to crash off the charts and Nevermind starts to come in. Oh, Frog Stomp is great. No shame in liking it. They're little kids, man. You got to love that shit. They hadn't even heard any music, man. Come on. Tomorrow's awesome. And there's one other song, Pure Massacre. The little Aussie kids. God love them, you know. But yeah, Dangerous starts 92. Dangerous is number 1, right? Week 1. Dangerous number 1, Nevermind number 6. Week 2, Nevermind number 1, Dangerous number 5. And it's this battle between them trying to shake out, now that SoundScan is giving them real numbers, what's really happening. Because Garth Brooks is charting Rope in the Wind is number 1, and they didn't even promote it. It's not on MTV. No one knows how this is happening. The record industry's like, what the fuck? Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind is the number 1 album in the country on what? Who the fuck is even hearing about this? Because think about the fucking division of reality we exist in right now. You know, how did we get to where we are? Not paying attention, not crossing the aisle, thinking the world works the way you want it to work, where you live, with your financial, racial, socially networked background and advantages. That's how we got to where we are now. We've been there before. And this is an example of it. The Rodney King riots are an example of it. And Garth Brooks having 3 albums in the fucking top 10 with literally no promotion, absolutely no way to see this guy's shit anywhere or hear it unless you listen to a country radio station, which at best, unless you lived in an area of the country that supported this music, you had one. We had one country station in Boston. One. 3 albums in the fucking top 10. I mean, that Ropin' in the Wind was #1 from January until April. The #1 album in the entire fucking country. That is inexplicably insane if you understand that there was no way for anyone to have heard it apart from, radio or word of mouth or bars somewhere, but not where I was. And I doubt in New York City. Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. But yeah, apart from signals like that, I would say the next big thing, it was obviously a big thing for me, is The Cure's Wish comes out. Cure's Wish is their crowning. Love Song had gone to #2. They were big. They had kept themselves going and in the charts. They put Never Enough out as a stopgap single. They put out, tons and tons of singles with live tracks to keep people in, the loop, because Robert Smith is notoriously slow, and the Disintegration, the Prayer Tour, was a fucking slog. I wrote, if you go look for 1 Week, One Band, it's an old Tumblr. I'm sure it's probably still out there. I wrote a bunch of articles for a week about The Cure. And one of them is about how at Dodger Stadium, they played to 50,000 plus people. And there was only 2 bands on the bill, them and I think Cranes. That's mental. It will never happen again. Unless you're, Taylor Swift or, Cardi B or whatever. A band of dudes in makeup that were 30, who had been going for 10, 12 years, played these massive stadiums. And by the time Wish came around, Smith's really fucked up and out of control. And it was pretty horrible. I mean, the shows were still good, but everyone was checked out of the band. It was they thought getting rid of Lowell Tolhurst was the problem because he was a raging alcoholic for the late 80s. But, him being out of the band didn't solve the problem. The problem ultimately was Robert Smith's ego. And Boris Williams did not have a good time on the Wish tour, and Simon didn't either. He had some kind of breakdown, or nobody knows really what. Some people, some do, I don't. No, Porl was still in the band. No, wait, maybe he's on show. Perry Beaumont was in the band. Daryl from Depeche Mode's brother Perry had been a roadie for The Cure forever. He joins The Cure when they do Never Enough, because Roger O'Donnell leaves. He's the one who left. Porl's still there on Wish, I think. It's Roger who's left. And again, all these leavings and departures are I can't deal with Robert Smith anymore. It's not Lowell. I mean, Lowell needed to go, but it's just you can see on the Wish tour, even if you just see that one show, the movie show, he's just, but when Wish came out, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, we snuck out, we skipped school to go buy tickets to go see him in Worcester. And then I went and saw them, another show in, what the fuck? It was Long Island, right? I can't remember right now. Anyway, Wish came in, banged in at #2. That was a big deal. Nobody thought The Cure was going to come right into the album chart at #2. I mean, even with Friday I'm in Love, one of their most sickly sweet singles ever, that was not anticipated at all. Nobody thought Wish was going to hit this big. And that was there were other surprises. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. It is hard for me to describe how absolutely oversaturated the world was with that record. That record, Under the Bridge, give it away. People think Nirvana was the biggest band in the world, and to an extent they were, but MTV saturation, Red Hot Chili Peppers were probably at various points during the cycle on Blood Sugar played way more than Nirvana, because Nirvana only had 3 videos really, right? They had Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, and Come As You Are. And then the live Lithium video they threw together, which is crap. But every Chili Peppers video was visually pretty on it. Obviously shocking, visual profiles and stuff. Heart-Shaped Box? No, I'm talking right now in '92, when Blood Sugar Sex Magic really blows up and goes up the album charts. That thing was massively big and had big singles, 5 or 6. So, that's important to recognize if you want to understand what this fabric felt like again. Crisscross, a teeny pop thing, wore their clothes backwards. One of the guys died or killed himself much later, sadly. Similar. It's weird. I've always been conflicted about things like that, about ABC and Crisscross and little kid stuff. It's just fucking weird. But yeah, Jump Jump was an undeniably good song. I think we talked about it in another stream. I think it's as important as Jump Around, clearly. So then not long after it's happened with Nirvana, people are like finding and it's Pearl Jam, and Pearl Jam hits in this spring. In April and May, Alive comes out. And I don't know if I'm repeating myself, but no, I'm not, because I was talking about Dream Theater's Silent Lucidity when I said it. But the opening lick of Alive was immediately banned from Guitar Center. Get the fuck out, turn the amp off. Like, oh my God, every kid was learning that goddamn riff. And, I've talked before, it's Queensryche, not Dream Theater. Sorry, Dream Theater. I said Queensryche in the other video, fuck off. Don't start fucking trying to tag me on getting names wrong. Jesus Christ. Silent next to you. Silent lucidity. What was I saying? Fuck. You totally threw me off now. I don't know what I was saying. I was talking about Pearl Jam. I mean, apart from my torturously awful, stupid joke I tried to make, Pearl Jam was embraced far more broadly than Nirvana. Nirvana had a very angry young male audience. It's a fact. Yes, there were tons of girls, young women listening to Nirvana, probably in an I can fix him way, but Pearl Jam was a totally different situation. And Temple of the Dog. Temple of the Dog, they bang that out in like 10 minutes. They're like, shit's going on. Let's make some more of that. Let's cook some more steaks for the fucking label. They had money flying at them like you wouldn't fucking believe. But because 10 was just stomping, dude. Stomping. Jam band dudes love Pearl Jam. Exactly right. I mean, that's the big joke I made, the good joke, not the bad joke in that grunge video. But I can just tell you, like, in my experience at that time, girls really did love Pearl Jam. Was not an offensive band. It wasn't a emotionally upsetting band. Kurt Cobain's voice is not pleasant to listen to unless you come from a certain emotional makeup. I guess I would put it that way. While yes, Pearl Jam has Black and Jeremy and some very dramatic songs, Even Flow, and it only gets solidified as it goes on with Daughter, which, Jesus Christ, I mean, Vitalogy was that's where Pearl Jam became a fucking jam band. And if anyone's wondering, I might do a jam band one of these, because I think you would be surprised to find out how much I know about jam bands by dint of simply having grown up in New England in the 90s. Like, I did not resist going to some of those shows for various reasons. Not that I enjoyed them. So when I've like talked to people, I'm surprised how much is actually up here about that shit, considering that I fucking hated all that shit. I only saw Fish twice, fuck off. And I didn't even listen to them. I was just walking around getting fucking ripped. But it is important to mention it, and I had another old video too where I'm ripping on Animal Collective, where I talk about the Baja thing and the Soap on the Rope and the Spin Doctors, because this is all happening at the same time. It's like I've been saying, like, this whole thing. There's so many genres and there's so many identities on offer for kids. But the mainstream radio music, again, is so vacuous, because now Billy Ray Cyrus, Garth Brooks Part 2. How is this happening? Who is this fucking guy? Billy Ray Cyrus, dude? Oh my God. Some Gave All. Number 1. June 13th, 1992 until October 3rd. Billy Ray Cyrus, Some Gave All. Number 1, 1992. It's the whole goddamn year. Garth Brooks and Billy Ray Cyrus. But people want to tell you about Nirvana, and people want to tell you about fucking Pavement and like shit that 20 people are listening to. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, dude. The world was nothing like all this shit that these kids who were like 10, 15 years younger than me, I get pissed. I get pissed, and I've always gotten pissed about this. And it's not the first time I'm saying it. When older generations start browbeating younger generations about the shit that didn't get appreciated during their time, that is the fucking number one failure you can make as a older generation in terms of getting a next generation excited or educated about what was going on in your environment. It wasn't going on at fucking all. I was a freak in my fucking high school, an absolute fucking freak. And almost anybody who listened to fucking Nirvana or The Cure was. There was like 10, 15 kids at your school. Why? Bunch of reasons. Peer pressure from jocks, peer pressure from your parents, peer pressure from older siblings. You know, you're told you're not going to get a girlfriend if you dress like this. People are going to think you're a homosexual or gay was the word then. I didn't give a shit what anybody thought about me. You wouldn't fucking believe what I used to wear to fucking school. You think these are outrageous fits? Please, dude. And, you know, people got to understand it was like that everywhere. And that's why Lollapalooza was so fucking crazy, because those 15, 20 kids at every fucking high school all met up. And there were like 20,000 of them. But that's it. That's the whole audience for this shit. That's nothing. That's not Garth Brooks. Today I will tell them about Dishwalla, you fucking badass. By the way, you guys should definitely thank Joe. He is the only reason I am streaming right now. Joe's been giving me some therapy, and I appreciate it, man. I do. This shit's annoying, and it's hard to get perspective on what's going on and what's real. But I do appreciate it. So then, yeah, then you get the Love Symbol album. Love Symbol is the one, right? That's where he goes New Jack Swing with the fucking chains, right? In front of his face. My name is Prince. Hurt me. Oh God, I love that fucking song. Sexy Motherfucker. That song is so good. I've said that before in another stream. Anyway, it gets so crazy, right? That George Strait charts. Again, George Strait is selling more records than any of these bands. And then the end of '92 is, while the end of '92 is two things. Eric Clapton's post Dead Kid MTV Unplugged, Tears in Heaven. That song played more than once an hour on MTV. No exaggeration. Tears in Heaven at one point was playing every half an hour on MTV. It was the most inescapable thing at a level, nothing. The only thing, I swear to God, the only historical precedent that I can compare the saturation of Tears in Heaven with is The Police's Every Breath You Take in 1983. Nothing else to me feels at all comparable. And then that leads right into Whitney Houston's The Bodyguard soundtrack. Also just omnipresent. But right in between there is an album that goes to #1 in between Garth Brooks' The Chase and Whitney Houston's The Bodyguard, which is Ice Cube's The Predator. Ice Cube took, I mean, this is an opinion. People sometimes don't understand that I'm a big fan of hip hop, but I am not somebody who comes out and wants to talk about it critically, because I don't. The Predator, Death Certificate, like Ice Cube's run in the early 90s coming out of NWA, he crushed that band like a fucking grape. He stomped on their fucking necks. I mean, Ice Cube erased everybody. His shit was so fucking untouchable. And then you're going to get Snoop with 187 off the Deep Cover soundtrack. I mean, Dre eventually comes back around and is outstanding as well. But man, holy shit. I mean, for me, for my money, Ice Cube was so goddamn transformative, like opened so much. And it wasn't just that he was nasty, you know, no Vaseline and shit, and that he was so raw or whatever. These were seriously fucking banging, great songs, incredible backbeats. I think everybody knows I'm a huge EPMD fan. Also known for the kind of backbeats I like. Anything that has like a natural drum sound, that was my shit. The Miami bass and like the P-Funk, like drum machine, Dre style stuff, that wasn't as, you know, obviously those are signature things within their communities and their cultures. But like, for me, it's anything that has more of like a Sly and the Family Stone, JB and the All-Stars kind of a beat to it that has that like funk, raw, live drum sound. I went bigger for that. That's always been the hook for me. But yeah, so I'm just going to blow through 93 too, because again, it just doesn't change all that much. The Bodyguard's #1 until February, and then Eric Clapton's Unplugged, and then but then surprisingly, this one does surprise me because, well, anyway, I also talked about this was also the second Sting-a-sance. So Sting has a couple of renaissances. There's the We'll Be Together, Nothing Like the Sun 87 period. Then there's the 92, 93 Soul Cage's 10 Summoners Tales period, where he's really huge again. Then he dies. Then in 99, he comes out with his like U2-y comeback thing with the green cover. So this is the second of the three big Sting phases. Low End Theory, yeah. I mean, again, I've talked about consciousness hip hop, backpacker, brain rap, all these different names. I had a long conversation with one of our quarters a couple of years ago, in an effort to maybe do a podcast about that, but it didn't hang together for me. I don't know enough about it to give it a really good feel. I have more of that college age anecdotal exposure to a lot of that stuff until it gets to down tempo trip hop and Ninja Tune and Moax, and I was all over that shit because it was more vague and anyway. But yeah, Arrested Development. So like, rap blows up, rap gets huge. Everyone, the Rodney King riots happen. Whoa, it's people are scared. Like, they are scared. They are, and it's totally racist. It's 100% racist, the fear of gangster rap, because a lot of gangster rap, not all of it, a lot of it is sort of performative, and I said that in the last one when I talked about like, this is how we do it, and like there are other forms of expression. We talked about it in Vogue, and SWV is going to come out. There's lots of other options available. It's not like it's all this righteous rage, but the reaction in the record industry is like, Arrested Development, that's what we want, because they are totally racist. They're talking about exposing black artists, giving them a platform. Who do they want to give that platform to? Positive black artists. We got to pray just to make it today. Arrested Development, Tennessee. De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, PM Dawn, right? That's what's fucking charting. The fact that Predator's only on the number one for 1 week, I'm not talking conspiracy theory bullshit, but The Chronic was big. But, in terms of what they're putting their money behind, man, you got to say it's pretty fucking obvious. Yeah, body count. I don't think the FBI was investigating Ice Cube over Cop Killer. I really don't. But I saw him. I saw him at Lollapalooza. They're fucking pretty good live. Those dudes were. they wore Suicidal Tendencies fucking hats. They were all in on this band that. Like, if you go back to like Chemical, if you go back to early Suicidal Tendencies and shit, that's some raw shit. Dude, Def Jam wouldn't even put it out because of Angel of Death. They wouldn't even put out Rain and Blood. Blast First put it out, right? Because straight up, like, those are fucking completely unacceptable lyrics. I'm sorry. And it's not like SOD where it's funny. It's not like, Speak English or Die, like these joke songs Anthrax did with leftover studio time. If you don't have Stormtroopers of Death, man, that record is so fucking funny. Douche Crew, oh my God, fuck me. Dude, Stormtroopers of Death, SOD, that record is it is the funniest fucking thing. And like, it's similar to what I was talking about in the pop punk video with Meatmen. Like, these are great, funny ways to just say the most extreme, comically inappropriate thing possible. That is funny. It's why Dave Chappelle has a fucking career. It's why, like, shock comedy is innately fucking funny. It's not making people think this stuff. It's making people laugh at the fact that people think this stuff. And people have got to fucking get their heads out of their asses about this. It's so frustrating. But yeah, SOD was so good. But yeah, so again, that is a nasty division that's occurring. And did 36 Chambers? Well, yeah, because I had friends in New York, so Wu-Tang was unparalleled, massive. The East Coast, West Coast thing was huge, quick. And I've talked before about that got major. Wow, major. Everybody was getting educated about that, let's say. So yeah, this is Spin Doctors Come In, Pocket Full of Kryptonite. But what I stopped on that was weird is Depeche Mode Songs of Faith and Devotion immediately came in at number one. It fell away pretty quick, but I was surprised that Songs of Faith and Devotion and I Feel You which is just a redux of Personal Jesus, which they didn't have a choice. They had to rewrite it. It's their biggest hit ever, right? Songs of Faith and Devotion, and particularly that tour, Depeche Mode totally maintained this massive U.S. audience, which had started with 101, which, you know, we chorded up. I miss those chords, but I don't know, the movie nights, but I don't think it's realistic for me right now. So yeah, then we talked about Pocket Full of Kryptonite. Spin Doctors broke the jam band thing, which had been building for a while. I told you, and I've said in other streams, starting in the late 80s, there's this Grateful Dead renaissance, and there's this Jimmy Buff, people are going to Jimmy Buffett shows, this whole vibe, the hippie, nouveau hippie vibe gets big, and Spin Doctors really benefit from that. Blues Traveler, the hook. Oh, yeah, I got that. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, it's Spin Doctors were so cheesy. So the Spin Doctors played my friend's high school cafeteria. Little known fact. They were playing high school cafeterias in like 90, 91. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom. It was crazy. Just blew the fuck up. And by then people are hearing about like Fish really, I mean, 93, 94, like Fish is huge. And it's all word of mouth because of these shows. And these shows are like, tape trading is totally a cover for weed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yes, you can be the cool guy with the stereo, you know, cardioid microphones on your fucking mini disc or DAT recorder, some rich fucking kid who's, you know, going to be the one who can afford to fucking do this shit. One of them I went to college with. One of these guys has like a fucking bajillion-dollar mansion, and he had like all these fucking Fish DATs, and I was just like, again, I was like, I would put out so many records if I had this money. But anyway, Little Miss can't be wrong. Yep. Two Princes is okay. Look, I've said this elsewhere. It's the worst snare drum production you're ever going to hear, but Two Princes is okay. And yeah, by Songs of Faith and Devotion, I mean, it was during this tour when Dave started to get really bad, for sure. But it was later when he like totally lost control. And then Stone Temple Pilots 93, that summer. And everybody, all of us were just like, oh, fuck you. Like, it was so odd. We were waiting for the cheesiest shit fucking PV guitar fucking center band ever to come out and do fucking photocopied Nirvana. And it was Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, they were critically fucking beaten with a bat the second they came out. Those dudes were not ready for the ass kicking they fucking got, man. And they deserved it because they were just clearly some fucking LA, you know, Doors fans. I don't know what the fuck they were. They were such shit. And then they were like, oh, let's just write In Bloom. Okay. Da-na-da. And, you know, I mean, I think Sex Type Thing isn't a bad fucking tune, but it's basically, you know, like a Motley Crue song. I mean, you know, call it what it is. It's like, I mean, it really is sort of like a shittier version of Kickstart My Heart. I don't know. I mean, and this is Sean. Go back and listen to the Sean Collins podcast for sure. I say this in all the '90s ones because, you know, it's this is germane to what we're talking about. And Sean and I talked about some of these notes, but you knew it was going to happen. And some people couldn't make that distinction. I couldn't make that distinction with Soundgarden, even though I knew Soundgarden was like a legit proto band with Flower. You know, 88, they had that record out that sounded, and I've said this before, it sounds like sort of what the God Machine ended up doing. But the STP was indefensible, just indefensible, because they were old enough to know what they were doing. And so when I was becoming like a music critic or whatever and running a Pitchfork, and people were like, oh man, Purple is such a good album, I was like, what? Like, it's like one of Ryan Schreiber's favorite albums, Purple by the fucking Stone Temple Pilots. But this is the one with Vaseline on it, which is like not even a song. It's like two fucking riffs taped together. I mean, I've gone back and I've said before, I have a soft spot for The Big Empty from the Crow soundtrack. I don't know. I just don't think I can ever get there with this shit. I mean, I got like, someone sent me the, yeah, Ultra Mega OK. That's the one on SST. That's Soundgarden's Crud record. Someone sent, I got a promo of like the three CD reissue of STP's Core. Someone sent me that. And you can hear in some of the demos and some of the work and stuff, like they're not total tools, but I don't know. Man, at the time, did you just... And he was trying different looks. Like he came out with the bleach shaved head in Sex Type Thing, and then he's got like the pink, you know, whatever, Interstate Love Song. That's the one that has... Isn't that the one that's like... Right? That twang riff at the beginning. Walt Mink. Ugh. Well, listen, one of my buddies in one of my bands was a huge Walt Mink fan. So they're out there. They exist. Riding in the subway on a Sunday afternoon. Their big break was like, I think there was a poster for that album on Beverly Hills 90210. Oh God, they were so fucking bad. That song Subway's okay though. Go Google Walt Mink Subway on YouTube. It's cute. The drummer was like pretty good. Janet's Janet. Definitely can't ignore that. So Janet's Janet was like her mature record before the kind of Lauryn Hill vibe. Janet's Janet was goddamn, that record was huge. This is the one I think where she has the video. No, that's from Rhythm Nation still. The one on the beach is still Rhythm Nation. I forget. There were two big, really big, like kind of adult contempo jams, ballads on Janet. And the only reason I know that it's like my wife's favorite Janet Jackson record. And then 93 right on the back, like came out way too soon. Should have waited longer. Zooropa. Man, U2 ate shit so fucking hard. I don't know if any band has ever been more full of themselves than U2 were during the Zooropa pop mart mid-90s shit. These are some just appallingly bad fucking records. They just blew it. Fucking totally blew it after Octung Baby. I don't know what happened. Lemon. Oof. Horrid shit. And then my big stan, John Mellencamp, Human Wheels. Just go listen to What If I Came Knockin' and listen to the title track, Human Wheels. Human Wheels is a legit good record. I bought it in 93 when it fucking came out. I still own that CD downstairs, man. It's a good record. John Mellencamp's a great fucking songwriter. People need to fucking be on his shit. Blind Melon, so I talked about that before. Shannon, what's his name? That was another grunge thing because Blind Melon got a bunch of money thrown at him. Why? He was already a known commodity. The guy was in the video for Don't Cry with Guns N' Roses. He's a great singer. Everybody in the music scene knew who he was. It was just like, you got to watch it with this guy because everybody knew he was horsed up. And yeah, I mean, honest to God, it was a meme. I mean, it was really hard to make a meme in the 90s, but the fucking B-girl was a meme. Jen Aniston's hair was a meme. There were maybe like 50 memes in the whole decade. The B-girl was a meme. It was on Saturday Night Live. I think they had a skit with the fucking thing for no reason. And it was just it's a beautiful fucking song. And he's a great fucking singer. He looks like he's in Lynyrd Skynyrd, but Weird Al, there you go, certification of meme. Weird Al parody the B-girl. Yeah, there you go. That'll tell it on you. Pearl Jam wrote a song about the B-girl. It sounds like that's in their wheelhouse. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, and so here's another thing. So Blind Melon, this is late 93, fall 93. All three things happen at once. The Blind Melon thing, that's very saturated. In Utero comes out, and Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell 2. Bad Outta Hell 2, I talked about this on the Sean Collins podcast. I didn't understand it at the time. I understand it even less now. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how Bad Outta Hell 2 sold millions and millions of fucking albums and was like getting a 12-minute fucking video played on MTV every fucking day. They played the full-length, 9-minute version or whatever of this fucking Meatloaf song all the time. It was insane. It was number one for a month, and then Verse comes out, Pearl Jam with, what was the song, Go? Oh, they're so fucking lame. Oh, I hate that band. Anyway, In Utero comes out, and half of this Kurt Cobain journal fucking corpse digging bullshit is about how Kurt Cobain, you know, everyone told him In Utero is commercial suicide. I don't know. Wah, wah. Everything is everybody else's fault but mine. I didn't start doing heroin until I came back from Europe in 1991. I didn't know that. It honestly is valuable to read this because you just see what a fucking crybaby he was. And it's funny now because I'm in my 40s and he was 27. He's a 27 club kid, right? And I can't excuse people who check out when they have kids. I've said it a billion times, but it's more about like having all this exposed. It's just like, oh my God, he's so basic. There's just all these excuses for my stomach bugs me. And, everybody's out to get me. It's just classic addict bullshit. And the point being with In Utero is it's not a good album. It sucks. I wrote a huge article about it. It's still out there. I don't know if I put it on the Substack or if it's on Medium. Just Google Shallow Rewards In Utero. It was originally published in Maura magazine. Maura Johnston was doing an e-zine for a while. I did that for her, and I also did a review of My Bloody Valentine's MBV. They're both on the Substack now, I think. But the Substack is dead, but I'm not going to delete it. It's there. And so is the old Medium for that matter. But anyway, I wrote this thing called... what did I call it? Obituary Birthday or whatever, about In Utero. And I said, In Utero is junk. And it is. It's just an album of being a junkie, suppressing all of your inspiration and talent and sapping all of your emotional. You don't have any emotional depth or volatility even. Like when you're on this shit, you lose highs and lows. Drunks have moments of clarity. Drunks have cleaning up periods, and they get inspired, and you can coke, whatever, you name it, you can touch and go. When you're a full-on maintaining heroin junkie, you lose all of that. There's no light and shadow, and that means there's no inspiration. And that album is just an absolute fucking pile of shit. It is such a slog. There's like nothing there. And the things that are there just sputter. And like that midsection of Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge in Seattle. Fucking great little jumping beat. They try to take the tempo up, but you can almost fucking just feel the heroin like sap the fucking life out of it. And the forced obsession with this Albini sound, having Steve Albini bless my record and make it sound like Surfer Rosa and fucking, Goat and the Jesus Lizard and Scratch Acid's first fucking single or whatever. It was a mistake. All of these were mistakes. In Utero was just mistake after mistake. Stubborn self-absorption and self-conviction. Why am I dressed like a lunatic? I'm not dressed like a lunatic. Dressed like a character from a show you clearly haven't watched. And it's just, it's painful, like, to listen to it. It's just so fucking boring. Radio Friendly Unit Shifter is a Dave Grohl song. Half the songs on In Utero are Dave Grohl songs, in the sense that they wrote them in the studio jamming off his drum beats. People don't fucking talk about this enough. Kurt Cobain wasn't writing shit. They were jamming shit out to come up with beats. It's stupid. It's so fucking obvious if you've ever been in a band for 10 minutes where these albums came from. Where these songs came from. Kurt Cobain has like 5 songs on this, Penny Royalty, Dumb, these have been around forever. But yeah, Scentless Apprentice, Milk It, Radio Friendly Unit Shifter, these are all fucking Dave Grohl beats. Cobain didn't write Live Through This. I don't care and I don't know, whatever. He wrote Big Me while they were in the studio for In Utero, and yeah, that launched his career. Foo Fighters' first hit is Big Me, which is a song he wrote for Marigold, for the B-sides, and it didn't get included. It's on the demo tapes. Duh. So 93 wraps up with Bat Out of Hell and Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style and Verse. Pearl Jam's Verses. Oh, and Lethal Injection, the one in between, Ice Cube. Not as good, but still good. So, I mean, those are the big themes in 92, 93. And the reason that they're easy to kind of blow through is because it's like, it's got such a continuity to it. It doesn't, after 93, 94, Kurt Cobain dies, it totally changes. They get it all back. I got to go back to Lethal Injection because I've glossed over that. I hit Predator and Death Certificate way more than I hit Lethal Injection. I got to sit with that one. This just reminded me. So my point is this: after Cobain kills himself, they get it all back, and then you start getting RuPaul, and you get the Macarena, and the Spice Girls, and NSYNC, and you know, Sean and I talked about this, and my whole thing is like, there's this little gap after 90, like 88 to 92 is the chunk I love, right? We've talked about that to death, but there's this little gap of like 92 to 95 where there's a lot of big shifts because of Nirvana and Britpop in England. And, you know, I don't think Britpop is something that I want to do a whole video on because it's so over exhausted. Yeah, Suede, Brett's whole thing with hooking up with Justine early on didn't really help anybody for Blur and the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Britpop for 3.5 hours without any, I mean, I know all that shit, but Britpop did nothing in America, and I've said that a million times. I mean, it was embarrassing. Blur fucking tanked out until they became a football song, American football with Song 2. Till the ST in 97, Blur had dick over here. Their biggest hit was There's No Other Way by a mile. You know, none of that other shit did anything over here. It was the Trainspotting soundtrack and kids hearing Sing, you know, their emotional song from Leisure. And it was Song 2, and that was it. I mean, none of that stuff did it. You think fucking Chemical World did anything in America? Give me a break. But yeah, the Cranberries are a good example of that. You know, the label's getting it back. The label's getting everything back. Marcy Playground and fucking the Verve Pipe and all this fucking Hootie and the Blowfish. Like, after 94, it's over. It's hard over. Like, at least in 92 to 95, there's a bunch of clone Nirvana hard shit, which most of it sucks. But after 95, it's just chunk. Yep, major labels have got it. Here we go. Here's the product. We're back in control. It's a weird and a bummer thing. But Black Sheep, that was another fucking awesome one. The choice is yours. Black Sheep, that album was big stuff in college. Was I in college yet? No. But that Black Sheep album was another one of those crossover suburban hits for sure. That did a lot of business. I smell sex and candy. Yeah, so, I mean, but again, 92, Color Me Bad are all over it, you know? It's still, like, completely fucking crazy, cheesy shit. Someone else mentioned how Mr. Big was way bigger than Damn Yankees. Fact, true. This is the year of To Be With You. I'm the one who wants to be with and Vanessa Williams saved the best for last. Oh, my God. That didn't sell a ton of albums, but that single was monster. That was number one. And this is also Wayne's World comes out, so Bohemian Rhapsody rocks for months. Genesis, I Can't Dance. I mean, but Justified and Ancient, to the point we talked about the Tammy Wynette song, Justified and Ancient does chart big in America. Not for a long time, but it does really well for a few. And then... but again, the singles that I've been, one of the reasons I did, you know, the chart sweeps of the 80s, just like bang, 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 bang. There's so much novelty. It's a singles medium in the 80s, hard singles medium. The album charts are like, in the 90s, it's totally different. The album charts and the single charts are exactly the fucking same. It's so fucking boring. I mean, they're exactly the same. And so when you go through this, it's just, you know, there's a couple of one-hit wonder funny things like Ugly Kid Joe, I Hate Everything About You, and fucking Green Jelly, and Disneyland. Oh my God, Disneyland. Who the fuck was that by? I'm going to Disneyland. Oh, the worst shit. And I mentioned Every Generation's Got Its Own Disease. I don't know when that was, but these are like signature. These are the last vestiges of like 80s one-hit wonder status. There were still a few in the 90s, and those are the kinds of ones I'm talking about. And Life is a Highway, Red Rider, What's Up, Tom Cochrane, that was big shit. This had to be summer. Yep, I called it. The summer of 92, man. Nirvana, Pavement, Minutemen, huge cred. Life is a Highway fucking jam. Loved it. Because you also got to remember Matthew Sweet's about to happen too. Girlfriend. Matthew Sweet bringing back Marshall Crenshaw style power pop. Evangeline. Fucking great shit. Man, I as a drummer, as a young kid trying to play drums, man, you had to get the break on Girlfriend. And that's not even like a good drummer. But like, man, the first fucking Matthew Sweet record, that shit is on point. And like, I'm not 100% fun guy at all. But like, Life is a Highway just is a straight up fucking jam. It's a great fucking tune. We rocked it all the time, man. It's just good. So yeah. I guess, I mean, those are sort of the, there's just not that many. Oh, They Want Effects, Das Effects. They Want Effects. That was another one. I mean, there were a lot of still rap one-hit wonders, to be sure. You know, I mean, Jump, it really, Crisscross, you're going to have to say, was pretty much a one-hit wonder. Sorry. In Medias Res, Frosting on the Beater, Posies. Yeah, that was a monster. I should mention that. There was this whole renaissance of those guys, of those power pop. Because you got to remember, there's also Riggedy Row. I don't know if we talked about Material Issue in 1990, but Material Issue were supposed to be the big, like Valerie Loves Me and Diane. Those guys were supposed to be the big power pop resurgence coming out of, were they in Chicago or Minneapolis? Material Issue. And then also, I think I talked in the 80s about Hoodoo Gurus. There were a lot of power pop bands coming up. And Matthew Sweet was definitely right in that vein. And so were Posies, totally. There's another band, what was it, Fluff? Was Fluff around at this time? All these guys ended up becoming like studio guys. And I think one of them ends up being in that band that does The Wonders. That Thing You Do, that movie. The Wonders song, it's so good. Super, what are they called? There was this band, they had a one-hit wonder on their own. God damn it. I can't remember. But yeah, the guy who just died. Yeah, the guy who just died. That guy, that's right, the bassist or whatever. Is it Fountains of Wayne? That's not who I'm thinking of, though. There was another band. They had a one-hit wonder that was so huge. The cover is them in like a Ford Galaxy 500 driving. God damn it, I can't remember. Well, I'm going to move on because I just can't remember. Not Deep Blue something. No. You know, people mentioned some other big records. Mazzy Star, Fastball. Thank you. Fastball. The Way, right? That was monster big. The Connells. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, Fastball's The Way was huge. The Connells. Yep. I mean, I told you my girlfriend was huge into the Connells. Was Stone Cold Yesterday. And a bunch of other shit on those two records. And then, do I know the story behind The Way? No, I don't. I don't think I do. Don't talk to me about Harvey's Danger. Yeah, so Mazzy Star was big. That record crossed over a lot. But I mean, people, you know, music geeks are always like, "Oh yeah, Opal. Remember Opal?" Like, no, nobody fucking heard of Opal. Shut up. 74, 75 was big in Europe, anomalously huge in Europe. The Connells 74, 75, massive. It was almost like what happened to the Danny Warhols, where you know, that stupid song was in the T-Mobile commercial or whatever. The same thing sort of happened with 74, 75. Big hit in Europe. Sustained them for like 3 years. Weird. TLC, Jodeci. Oh my God. Mariah Carey's I'll Be There. Oh. And then, yeah, late summer 92 is also Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover, Sophie B. Hawkins. That video is a little bit exploitative, I'm going to say. Cloth diaper, a little fucked up. But yeah, no, she's supposed to be like a Greek statue, right? Yeah, God Machine, that first album. That's the one with the samples from The Sheltering Sky, the John Malkovich, Deborah Winger vehicle. Like the most fucked up fever dream. Oh my God. The guy who wrote was that Umberto Eco book or whoever? It's a big famous European author, literary existentialist author. And he like disavowed that movie so hardcore. Oh my God. But yeah, I love Sheltering Sky. I love that movie. It's so funny and stupid and arty, full of shit. It was Bernardo Bertolucci. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, God Machine. The Desert Song, man. What is that, like 38 minutes long? There's like a 12-minute jam. God Machine were awesome. If you haven't heard the God Machine, it's a pretty fucked up story. Anyway, they're like in between Jane's Addiction and swerve driver. I don't know how else to put it. It's like there's some shoegaze, but it's like totally metally and proggy in places. The first God Machine record is towering, great shit. I talked in another one about electronic, about how much that first record was I loved. It was unfortunate, Disappointed was a single only. But yeah. Oh God, I don't see. The thing is, I also have I'm definitely, don't worry, I am going to do an IDM electronic music stream. Because I did a little like comeback video thing. I did like 3 or 4 videos in 2018, was it, or whatever? Or was it last year? I can't remember. Where I did like an Aphex Twin video about my obsession with Aphex Twin. You have no idea how much other fucking IDM, Bill Laswell, fucking Richie Houghton, like LTJ Bucum, good-looking record shit I have in fucking crates in the basement. Like, I have the fucking Toytronic shit. I have all of that fucking shit. Like, you wouldn't believe how much of that I have all that shit, and I never talk about it because it's not critical music. It's fucking Have an E music. And anyway, yeah, I'll that one will be all pulls, like 92, 93. I don't need to pull fucking records. I'll do a like no Aphex Twin IDM stream, and it will be bananas. I got records that are worth fuckloads of money. I have some Laswell shit that goes for like $300 on fucking He's a good. He's a good. Yeah. And I think Connected charts in the US this year. I mean, yeah, I should probably do that one next because, like the whole late 90s IDM and the explosion of Warp Records. And like, first of all, I should save this joke for that or I'll repeat it. But the whole joke of IDM, intelligent dance music, is that it's not fucking dance music. No one has ever danced to IDM ever. No one's dancing to fucking On by Aphex Twin. No one's dancing to fucking, anything Autechre did. Like, give me a fucking break. It's fucking stoner music. Like, just, it's stupid. It's just acid, like acid is sort of the punk rock of house or mainstream techno. Like they Reflex and like, what was that funny record? The Renegade Raver, the Raver, whatever. That yellow record, it was like 97. Just the Renegade Raver or something, this stupid Reflex joke. I mean, all these dumb in jokes and everyone's starting a label every 5 minutes. IDM was so funny, but I'll get to it. Yeah, so summer 92, it's Achy Breaky Heart. I mean, again, it's all the stuff I talked about on the albums charts. There's not a lot of like vital, fun, like I Kicking It After 7. That was a jam. Oh, Paul Bowles wrote The Sheltering Sky. Bertolucci, of course. They got 8.5 guy, right? Or whatever. He did the movie. That's the famous director. I'm sorry if I comment on that weird. Cypress Hills this year? That's 92 or 93? God damn, I love Cypress Hill. Cypress Hill is so good. I got you thinking, what the fuck is this? Letting you know I take care of business. Sugar. Oh yeah, that's important. And that ties in sort of the shoegaze stuff because Black Sunday is 93. Black Sunday is better than the debut. Black Sunday was big. That was a really cool like suburban rap crossover. Sugar. Yeah. So Bob Mould has had this kind of dark gray Anglican sort of solo career, with what's it called? Workbook or Songbook or whatever. Really mid-tempo, heavy kind of stuff. I Can See a Little Light was a huge hit. It's a beautiful song. I mean, it sounds like Sugar. It sounds like what he wanted to do. Weirdly or funnily to me, one thing that stands out, it's funny because we're calling this No Alternative. If you listen to this No Alternative compilation, it has my favorite Buffalo Tom song on it, which is called For All to See. It's one of my very favorite guitar pop songs ever. And it sounds like Sugar. And it sounds like what Bob Mould wanted to do. And what he did do. And the funny thing is the person who hooked him up was one of his biggest fans as a kid was Alan McGee, who was a monster Husker Du fan. And he set up Bob Mould on Creation Records. That's who released Copper Blue, which is pretty nuts. And it ended up getting licensed over here by Ryko, who printed I can't even tell you how many copies of this they printed. I made a joke in a long time ago. God, 20 years ago, I wrote that used CD article. You could buy the entire recorded discography and Sugar on CD for like 3 cents from Amazon at one point. And he was just this massive. Alan was this massive Bob Mould fan, and so he did Copper Blue, which is good. I prefer File Under Easy Listening, the second record. Some people thought it was cheesier, but I like the dronier songs. I mean, I love If I Can't Change Your Mind and Favorite Thing. Copper Blue is big. It was a big college kid record. I mean, it was very appealing. It has a lot of like, Sugar. I wrote the used CD article almost because of like Monster and Sugar and things like that. The opener on Fuel has straight MBV guitars. Yeah, there's a lot of guitar effect. I mean, I talked about that a minute ago, that Bohemian Rhapsody and Wayne's World blew up. But anyway, yeah, Sugar, Beaster's weird. I don't like it. A lot of people think that's like the credible cred Sugar, deep Sugar cut or whatever. None of the songs go anywhere for me. I was never really into it. It all sounded like that song Hoover Dam, which just goes fucking nowhere. What a dumb song. Just stupid fucking lyrics. I don't know. But the Copper Blue and Fuel are both great. And Sugar was big. I don't know that Bob was in a place to really capitalize on it or tour heavy, but that was then. And I made a joke about Mazzy Star, but Mazzy Star was proper big, and then she started dating Jim Reed from Jesus and Mary Chain, and that's really important because that screwed up that band pretty fucking quick. Will was not, or I don't know if it's Will that was dating her or Jim and the other one, but anyway, it caused a lot of brotherly tension. That Hope Sandoval was like hanging around, and obviously I think it's well known she had a massive fucking heroin problem most of her 20s. I mean, she was a fucking wreck for at least like a good almost decade. I think there are rumors of those things occurring, but I don't like to contribute to that shit anymore. I've had enough people fucking make up bullshit about me because they're fucking butthurt that I trashed their band. I'm not going to propagate, supposed rumors about things that haven't been firsthand, whatever, about that relationship that I'm talking about. Anyway, I mean, they're volatile people and they weren't in a good place in their lives. Leave it at that. It's not like Marky Smith where like it happened in front of people and there's no getting around it. Anyway, Momus, fuck Momus. Straight fuck Momus, no interest. Sorry, not my scene. And I mean, this is the dawn. It's like Britpop. If you're going to talk about it, it's like ground swelling a little bit, and it doesn't like truly explode just yet, because Blur still fits and starts. Like their records weren't doing well until Park Life. I mean, they just weren't. The Great Escape is, it doesn't redeem anything either. It's like they had this album that was a monster. I don't know, but I don't want to go into it. Band of Susans, why no one talks about them? Because they weren't that good. I mean, I like them, but I'm not going to say that they're great. The Universal's okay. It's overlong and overwrought, but it's good. Band of Susans, Pablo Honey, yeah, Creep, my God. Creep was funny. You knew it was a gimmick hit the second you heard it, and there was nothing else on that album. That album sucks so bad. It's such a piece of shit. And they know it. They knew it the second it came out. Radiohead are well aware that their first album is a farce and that they were a complete fucking knobber joke. But it's a great song. Creep is an undeniably fucking legit, massively good song. I love it. Patrice O'Neill has a bit about Creep. I'll have to Google that. We loved it. We used to cover Creep. It's fucking awesome to play. I mean, it's the coolest fucking move. I mean, like that's a cool fucking move, and any kid can do it. You don't even have to know how to play guitar. Anyone can play guitar, exactly. Anyway. You write as many songs about the world coming to an end all you want. At the end, people will want to hear Creep, Noel. True. I mean, my favorite clip, I think I've already said it, is the one, I don't know, I think it was Noel who was, no, it was Liam, who was like, he's just up there singing the news. I mean, I felt that way about Radiohead around the time of Amnesiac. I was just like, Tom, dude, you're a pop singer. Shut the fuck up with this shit. Like, I reviewed Hail to the Thief. I still think it's their best album after OK Computer. I gave it a monster rating, and a lot of people, I think, have come around to that. I think a lot of people, nothing to do with me. I'm not saying it, I'm not in an egotistical way. I'm happy to find, that a lot of people are increasingly sharing the opinion that Hail to the Thief is a really strong record, and that all that, druggy, self-serious bullshit on Kid A and Amnesiac was kind of a fucking slog. Hail to the Thief crushes. It's just too long. They should have cut like 3 songs out of Hail to the Thief, and it would have been amazing. And why not? They were going to release 25 fucking CD singles anyway, because that's what they did. Anyway, yeah. The Benz is their best record. Yeah, it's pretty close. I mean, their 3 best records are OKC, the Benz, and Hail to the Thief. The rest of it, I can relatively take or leave. I mean, Idiotech, stellar fucking piece of music, and Tom posted an edited track list for it on their blog. Well, it would have been the better, better decision to trim Hail to the Thief. It was way too long. It was sprawling as hell, just too much. But anyway, Jesus, He Knows Me. Now there's a fucking brutal one. Genesis, Jesus, He Knows Me. So they had the audacity to make fun of the Bible Belt and make fun of televangelism. Like they know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, Phil. Sesame's Treat. There you go. Smarties, Sesame's Treat. Charted in America, November 1992. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but in America, it didn't come over as rave. I mean, like, yeah, you could get. First of all, I don't even know if any of it was E that you could get. I mean, even in New York. But you're going to go to a club. You're going to go clubbing. I'll wrap it up soon. You're going to go clubbing in America. You're not going to go to like a proper fucking destroy a field rave or like destroy a warehouse rave, because these places don't exist. And the cops will come and they'll take you to fucking jail. Like, you don't have that kind of authoritarian fabric in England that's going to crush this so quickly. It's happening again. I mean, I've been seeing the stories about people are doing these sort of like anti-COVID raves, which I'm not going to say I'm all for. I mean, I don't want to be, cavalier about what's going on, but I don't know. The original rave culture, I got to say, like, sort of comes from a similar place of frustration. It's weird. Certainly not with the same, situation or in any way, but, and so, yeah, there was E. It was kind of shitty. I think most of it was probably like, speedy shit. But my point is this, right? Like, yeah, there you go. 3,000 person get down in Port Talbot. Yeah, exactly. It was mostly like meth and speed and, amphetamines and shit. Usually wasn't E. What I would say in my experience is that real E, honest to God, didn't really get to America until like the late 90s. It didn't really get around. Like, I remember it being big 99 to like 01. And that was when you were getting like really, like, people were freaking the fuck out, real shit. Obviously this has been banging in England and Europe since the late 80s with the Happy Mondays and Ibiza, but over here it's like D-Light. It's like New York club, the club kids, Michael Alig. It's very urban, it's very city based, and it's very sexually ambiguous. And it's, the kids who go on Jerry Springer and fucking Sally Jesse Raphael, the talk show culture. It's shocking moms. It's, that's where the club and drug culture and dance culture in America is totally still ghettoized, because there's just no way to have these experiences. And they've been having them in England. And I mean, I certainly was hearing about them because I was dating a girl from there, a girl from Lancashire, and around this time. You know, it sounded so cool, but yeah, I don't know. It was super hard to get even in my 20s. Yeah, K was obviously K was the drug everybody had in America, but it's awful. I don't know if you've ever, don't try K. They say it's different for everybody, but I don't believe that. How do you date someone in the England in the 90s? Know people who are from England. Yeah, ketamine. Yeah, it's just fucking, it's a horse tranquilizer or cat tranquilizer. That was Go was the American E movie. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. It was just people. It was like people just wanted a drug to do, and K was around. I don't even know. I mean, all those club kids were doing K all the fucking time. A-League talks about it all the time. The Party Monster documentary, if you haven't seen it, Michael A-League's story is really fucked up, and it's just, it's very arch for that time. Do K and end up like, yeah, I can see that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this is kind of an addendum to the grunge video in a way, because I didn't want to make it so much about Kurt Cobain. I wanted to make it more about what things were like during 92, 93 and how they weren't all that different, but you had options. And those options were starting to, you know, create communities. And that's what the whole like 7-inch thing, and everybody starting their label. There's an economic boom that's making that possible. And there's this second generation of indie music kids that's come up with college music, that's come up with this idea of not being a mainstream FM heavy metal, hair metal jock, and not being afraid of getting called an FAG and, you know, dressing crazy, or being a fuck you dad skate rat listening to Agnostic Front, or, you know, being a hardcore kid going to shows. Like, all these options and all these communities are growing and diversifying, and they're bringing in the 20, 50 kids in your suburban high schools who are willing to plant a flag and are not, you know, just going along to have a social life. They're not afraid of being alone. They're not unhappy about potentially only having a couple friends, you know. And these are the people that the shows and the movies get made about. These are the people that, you know, fucking Freaks and Geeks, Stranger Things, Slackers, Dazed and Confused, you know, all of pop culture, predominant amount of pop culture. I mean, what, you know, the thing about Dazed and Confused I love is that it doesn't judge the jocks. I love that fucking movie. I think Linklater fucking nailed it. I think it's a really honest, true, cool fucking reification of more than like Fast Times, which is still full of like, you know, Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's jokes. I mean, it's real. There's no question Fast Times is super legit. I mean, like, if my sister's generation, but like it's like pretty fucking real, and like walking around the mall and all that shit. Like, it's good, but Dazed is so fucking, it's just, it goes across the aisle a lot. And I love that about it. I love the fact that that one, you know, awkward kid is so uptight and so neurotic and insecure. And it, you know, those characters are just awesome. But anyway, I guess I'm saying that the 90s kind of, in so many ways, there are a lot of echoes of that. There's a lot of echoes of how it's okay to have an identity and you're not going to get your ass kicked. In the 80s, it was very much more fascistic. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. Having lived through it, I think mass culture, pop culture was in a very kind of shut off place. As much as things were happening, it was at such a small scale, and it was, you know, you were a freak. The skaters, the dudes, even the vert skaters, like as big as they were, you know, it took a lot of marketing and weird shit to get around how monoculture and oppressive and conservative the 80s were. Like, you were supposed to be like a little adult, you know? It's like a bad pastiche of the rich kids in Animal House or something, like the preppy thing, and you know, you're going to come out of college and join dad's firm and whatever. It's really weird. So yeah, I've been on for an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, I'm done. How long did it take for Stereolab to hit in the US? Are you pretending that Stereolab was big in the United States? Stereolab did nothing here. I mean, they were on Elektra. They were nothing. I mean, they didn't even sell in college. I mean, I remember when Emperor Tomato Ketchup came out, and then everyone tried to pretend Dots and Loops was a big album. It wasn't. What do you think those fucking Jim O'Rourke bullshit fucking Pitchfork records in the early 2000s did shit? No. I love early Stereolab. I think the ABC Music, the live session CD is, man, that's one of the best compilations of a band at its height ever. Pang switched on, the first refried Ectoplasm, all that shit, up through Emperor Tomato Ketchup. Stereolab is unfuckwithable. That band absolutely fucks. But yeah, from Dots and Loops on, I think they suck. They become cocktail fucking lounge music. Blow that shit out. I don't have any interest in it. I just thought they were garbage. And then they were art wank, and then that woman died, and it was just awful, and I just wasn't into any of it. New Order's Regret, one of the best tracks of 92, one of the best tracks of fucking ever. Regrets, and it's an electronic song, though. Peter Hook's right. It's great, but it's an electronic song. But yeah. Anyway. New Order wasn't also big. New Order was fucking huge. New Order was huge in the 80s. Mars Zodiac Quintet, that's fantastic. I love that record. Because of, what is it? Narco Montant. There's like a 12-minute jam on that. The full-length version is on one of the EPs. Because I love those krautrock Noise jams, you know. But yeah, I love that. I loved Mars Zodiac Quintet. That's a great record too. Like I said, up through and including Emperor Tomato Ketchup, Stereolab is all bangers. No, New Order was as big as any band in the 80s. God, they toured fucking massive stadiums in the United States from 85 on. After they got on the Pretty in Pink soundtrack, New Order were just fucking gods. Oh my God. The tour they did with Echo and the Bunnymen, I'd fucking shoot myself to go see that. I mean, Mac and fucking, like, can you imagine the fucking green room, the booze? Jenny on the Line is my favorite song of theirs. Legit my favorite Stereolab song. And I actually like the single version. But that harmony, that ooh, at the end of that, I could listen to that for 20 minutes straight. Oh my God, it's so good. And it's like that Unrest song. Unrest did a song like that that's 33 minutes long, and it's only on this one EP. It was a promo EP that I have. You can Google it. Just look for an Unrest song on YouTube that's 33 minutes long, and it's a motoric. It's one of those motoric, how long can we play this things. It's great. I think it's on the Kath Carroll EP, yeah. But it's 33 minutes long, and it's so good. It's a very much like Stereolab influenced jam idea, and there were a lot of bands playing with the drone, krautrock, twang, you know, ring out, you know, B and E string tuned together move. Yeah, Perfect Teeth was this year. I mean, American Indie, like Unrest, Superchunk, all this stuff, I could go off on that forever, but it's just, I mean, it's kind of boring. Imperial FFRR really was a big record in the indie, you know, 10, 20,000 world before Perfect Teeth. Perfect Teeth was like a big step up for Unrest. It was better produced. It certainly wasn't like radio ready, although they did try and do radio mixes of Kath Carroll, and Makeout Club was the big one. Makeout Club, the radio mix of that is so funny. It's just like, oh, let's add some corny room mic to Phil's fucking drums. I loved Unrest. They were one of my favorite bands in the end of high school and in college. Absolutely. Unrest cover of Kiss. Are you talking about In a World Without Heroes? The Goya, isn't that Grenadine? Grenadine's Goya is this side project Mark Robinson did that had a couple of really great songs on it. The second album, The Politos, is fucking terrible, but that first Grenadine Goya is worth a listen for sure. The MTV Unplugged, REM's Unplugged, The Cure's Unplugged. Yeah, get all that shit. Nirvana's being the pinnacle. The Cure's Unplugged was phenomenal. That was the best one until Nirvana's. REM's right behind it for Perfect Circle, Fall on Me. And they released that like a few years ago. It's great. But yeah, so anyway, kind of a ramble, but just to give you guys a stream to listen to if you're into it. I mean, hardening some points for sure, but I think after this, yeah, Tori Amos blew up. After this, it gets completely different, and I think the rest of the 90s I would probably translate in terms of, like I said, genre stuff, IDM, stuff like that, and in kind of 2-year glomps, Britpop maybe, because you could go broader than just Britpop. And include some of the stuff, the shoegaze stuff maybe I didn't talk about. Like, I don't think in the shoegaze videos, I mean, I did 3 of them, even though they're like 15, 20 minutes. I don't think I mentioned Moose once. And I loved Moose, man. The Sonny and Sam EP was so crucial. There's also a podcast I did, a really short podcast called Ride to Nowhere, where I talk about how pissed off I was that everybody forgot about Going Blank Again, which was 92. And I think is a really, really important record that just kids are not going to hear about because everyone wants to talk about Nowhere and goth, jangle, reverb, shoegaze. When Ride they were the only band that successfully made an evolutionary second record in Going Blank Again. It's a monster fucking album, and it only sounds like shoegaze in like 2 places. You have to get that fucking album. It's so good. But that's one of those things I could talk about, relative to shoegaze and the end of shoegaze and Britpop and the transition into it and how it killed Ride and how all these bands started having to do second guess kind of Britpop songs. I mean, fucking Depeche Mode did a Britpop song. What's it used? Around the time of Be Here Now, Depeche Mode did a song that's seriously like a Britpop song. It was that crazy. Post-rock. I already did the post-rock alphabet, not that it goes anywhere, but Twisterella is a perfect song. And that's what I say in the Ride to Nowhere podcast. Imagine if Ride had opened for The Cure on the Wish Tour, which they were supposed to, but they turned it down because Alan McGee's an egomaniac, and he said 30 minutes wasn't enough time for them to play. And he didn't want them to be like in the shadow of this old makeup goth band. Fucking huge mistake. Put Friday I'm in Love and Twisterella together. Ride could have been so huge on the back of Going Blank Again and Twisterella, and they fucked it up. I love Pygmalion, yeah, but that's like way later. Yeah, Pygmalion's awesome, and the demos are awesome. But yeah, I made a great joke about that. I won't top in the shoegaze video. So yeah, the second shoegaze video is the one I think where I talk about Slow Dive and Curve. So yeah, you can go watch those 3 shoegaze videos if you want to hear about that. But yeah, and the Slow Dive demos I don't even think they're a bootleg. I think they got appended to the reissue of Pygmalion. I think Slow Dive like mastered them and fully put them out. But yeah, the demos for Pygmalion are famously like as good as Pygmalion. But all right, I'm gonna stop. So anyway, next time maybe I'll do like a Britpop, broad strokes, shoegaze, like 92 into 96 Britpoppy thing, and then I could do IDM, which is more like 94 to 99. And maybe we'll do it that way. But Pale Saints did nothing. I mean, the guy can't even sing. I love him, but come on. Throwing Back the Apple is a great record, but yeah, they didn't do anything. Yeah, their debut is great. I mean, their Ride covered them. Everybody was trying to big up Pale Saints. Everybody loved them, but they weren't a good band. I mean, it just happens. Peace, y'all. I'll give you the full Mike Nolan. How you going, mate? I don't think there's any big. I don't know if there's many Big Les fans on the stream, but I did fully kid out, especially now that I lost all the weight and this fits better. So I'm gonna go get some cashing in. Oh man, cheers from Argentina. Hey, thanks for watching the stream, man. Always fucking cashing in, man. Always fucking cashing in. How you going, Bill? You chill too. All right, dudes, later. It's always on fucking SmackDown, mate. I'm not a big Gaster del Sol fan. Don't count your cards.